All
Hello.
right, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Nemesis Gaming League as we are here for the one and only grand finals for season number 9. And oh boy, is it good to be back! And I am joined by some lovely fellas in the booth. I'm Rockerman, Nemesis director and host for tonight's grand finals pre-show. I got a few friends with me. We're gonna go around a little bit. First off, I'm gonna throw it to Mr. Gallium, our good old commentating lead. How are you doing, Gallium?
Oh, I'm doing amazing, and I mean, I'm so ready for this grand finals. This is my third ever grand finals, and this one's probably going to be the spiciest one that yet. I mean, after 3 months of regular season and the draft leading up to this, and everything that we've had to go through, we're finally here, and I can't be more excited for it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I am also very excited. We've also got the one and only Flip 1010 in the booth. Flip, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm ready to get this going because Rocket Man, we have had one of the craziest playoffs ever. Like, I don't know. There's been so many upsets, so many unfortunate circumstances. It's all accumulating here in the grand finals, and I feel like this is gonna be a night to remember for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It will be a night to remember for, at least 6 teams here on the night, and probably many more of the viewers and fans for sure. Last but not least, we got one and only Dan, the news lead and GM of the Sub-Zero org, who will be playing tonight. Dan, how are you doing? How you feeling tonight?
Man, I'm feeling ready. This is my second grand finals that I'm actually appearing into tonight, and I honestly feel like a boomer at this point, Rocker Man, because I've been here since season 3. It's just another wonderful grand final Saturday.
Yeah, definitely good to be back here for Championship Saturday. We're happy that all of you guys are here able to join us, and we're gonna go through here quickly, and we're gonna give you guys kind of a preview of the night. We've had a crazy, as Flip kind of mentioned, it's been a crazy season 9. There's been a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of a lot of underdog stories, a lot of upsets, a lot of just hecticness going on, and it all culminates to this. We've had a crazy playoff run, and we're gonna break down all the matches for tonight here. And let's kick things off in the Titan League, where we have Grandmasters taking on Inferno. We're gonna go through talk briefly about these two teams, starting off with the Grandmasters regular season in review. And who better to give us the regular season in review than the GM of the Chess Hall, Gallium? What can you tell us about your boys over there, the Grandmasters?
Man, I love those guys, and they had a really good start to the season, starting 7-0. However, Nuggy and the rest of the team had a little bit of availability issues. They weren't really finding their stride, and in the middle of the season, they kind of had a little bit of a slump, and that's when they lost 5 to 6 games. And the Grandmasters finished 12-6, and they took on that fifth seed. And during the season, I heard how dominant they were coming into this, but the middle of the season, I was a little worried, but I mean, coming into knowing what I know now, and I shouldn't have been worried this whole time.
Well, we will have to see how they perform tonight. They'll be going up against a tough Inferno squad. Flip, what can you tell us a little bit about them?
Man, this Inferno team, they had a real rough start to like the first half of the season. They went 3-6. And that's something that when you'd be whenever you're going for a playoff run. But they picked up Rocky Airs and everything on that team changed. They went undefeated in the last half of the season, 9-0. And now they're in the finals and they're looking to kick some butt.
Yeah, definitely so. And both these teams, they've had some impressive performances along the way. As the Grandmasters, they actually took down the Dragons in the most recent matchup, who were definitely the favorites. In Inferno, they came through and took down another favorite in Pinnacle. A lot of people thought it was going to be Dragons versus Pinnacle in the final, but both of them were taken down and out in the semifinals of both these teams. So we got, probably the two best teams. I guess you can't really argue with that, considering they made it here. And yeah, this match will get going at 11 p.m. Eastern, and we're gonna have to see. A little inside scoop says that Nuggy may have sprained his left thumb today, so he might be a little bit, got him on the injury report here. But we'll see how he can push through and see if that's gonna hinder them at all. But let's quickly go through and get some predictions from everyone. Flip, I'm gonna start with you for your prediction here.
Man, I have Inferno taking down the Grandmasters. Inferno, they just look too good, man. They're taking them down. I'm taking them down in game 7, 4-3.
All right, and Gallium, who do you got on this one?
I got Grandmasters in 6. Give me them 4-2 Inferno. It doesn't matter that Nuggy sprained his thumb. He's still a beast.
Hey, we will have to see. He definitely is a beast. Dan, who you got in this one?
I'm gonna do a complete 180 from Gallium. I'm gonna do 4-2 inside of Inferno. It sucks for me to say that because I am the cold org, but Inferno is just too hot to handle.
Yeah, they are looking hot. I'm gonna hop on the Inferno bandwagon as well. They looked so good taking down Pinnacle in that crazy game 7, and I think it's gonna be a really good one. I think now, especially with Nuggy possibly being injured in this one, it's gonna switch things up just a little bit. So I am gonna go with Inferno as well. I'm gonna go 4-3. Also, same as Flip here, going to game 7. I think it will be close. I think the Grandmaster still will give them a dogfight, but I think Inferno, they're going to be a little bit too strong to handle there. So, yeah, that one is the Titan League Grand Finals preview. That one, again, at 11 p.m. Eastern. We're going to work our way down from Titan all the way down to Provisional, which is the first matchup of the night here. So, let's keep moving things along where we have the Rival League Grand Finals. We have Gravelords taking on our rival here, a spicy divisional matchup. Flip, what can you tell us about the Gravelords season in review?
Man, Gravelords, they were okay. And they were an okay team. They're sitting probably around the 6 in the power rankings in the beginning of the season. They had a solid roster, but LK is a player that they traded for, and Kai actually started to play the game, and he actually started play and showing up for their games, which turned their season around. And doing so, they didn't lose a game with this roster whenever they started. So they are looking really strong as they're going into it. But as long as this roster, they're here, they haven't lost a game, and honestly, it's kind of continued that way. So I'm kind of scared for this Arrival team. Not gonna lie.
It does look like a scary divisional opponent. Gallium, what can you tell us about the one and only Arrival?
Yeah, I'm sure you want to hear about this one, Rocker Man. So Arrival, they finished with the 5th seed, but I don't really blame them as they had one of these most stacked divisions, I think, in all of Nemesis. I think the 2 teams ahead of them were 13 and 5. So they finished 12 and 6, a respectable record, finished with the 5th seed. And they had a little bit of a slip up in the middle of the season. They had a decent beginning of the season, but the middle of the season it kind of got shaky, and it has been kind of shaky for most teams. So I'm this Arrival team. They've made it to this point. So, I mean, it's only up from here.
Yeah, and something I will add as the GM of that org, a lot of those games that they did lose in the middle of the season, they did not have their starting roster. So they, a lot like the Gravelords, when their starting roster was on the pitch, they were winning, and I think they've proved that thus far in the playoffs, which we've seen as they just recently flipped, unfortunately took down your Knights in a thrilling game 7 victory there. And then also Gravelords, they made their way through, sweeping the Pineapples, and then kind of a little rough one in the semifinals against the Chimeras, but ended up winning that one in game 6. So they made their way through the postseason to make it to the grand finals. So that one, again, it should be a spicy one here tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern. For this one, obviously divisional rivals. It is going to be a spicy one. Let's quickly move on though to our predictions on the night. Flip, again, I'm gonna start with you.
Gravelords are gonna sweep Arrival. It's not gonna. It's
Ooh.
like bold prediction. It's not gonna be close. Simple. If you're watching, I know you are. I expect great things, especially whenever Juicy Leaf is not playing. So without that man, the Arrival, they just can't stack up.
Yeah, Juicy Leaf will more than likely not be playing tonight unless there's some sort of miracle, but it does not look like he is going to be available on the night, unfortunately. Gallium, I'm going over to you. Who do you got in this one?
I have Gravelords in 5. They've been the strongest team all season. Arrival missing Juicy Leaf. I would have probably had Arrival winning this series if they had Juicy Leaf, but it also Gravelords, they can beat Arrival in 5, but it honestly comes down to how Kai plays.
All right, Dan, throwing it over to you. Who do you got in this one?
I also got Gravelords in 5. I think they're just way too good of a roster to lose against this rival team. Not to say that they're a bad team, but truthfully, if the Gravelords lose this series, it will be 100% on them.
All right, well, fair enough. I've got no bias, of course. I got to go with a rival. My boys, got to go with them. No bias, of course. I got a rival in 7. They may have the sub up here, but you never know what can happen. That's the one thing. That's the one thing about the playoffs. The pressure is on. You never know how people are going to perform under pressure. I know Alex has that ice in the veins. I expect Courses and Kilo to step up big as well. So I got my confidence in my boys. Even without Juicy Leaf, I think they can win it for him. So I'm going to go with Arrival in 7. But we will have to see. It should be a spicy one, 10 p.m. Eastern for that matchup in the Rival League Grand Finals. And then we would move along to the Challenger League. Unfortunately, looks like things in the Challenger League may not be quite settled yet. So we're gonna kind of actually skip over the Challenger League for now. But we it does not look like the grand finals for Challenger Griffins versus Orbit will be played tonight. That's to be determined if it'll even be played at all. Unfortunately, just with the schedules, Griffins are unable to make tonight for the grand finals. So management was trying to find a time, but it does not look like it may happen. But regardless, we will have some content to air. We're going to be airing the Challenger League Grand Finals from season number 4, as voted by the Power Rankings team as the best Challenger League Grand Finals. So there will be some content in that 9 p.m. spot regardless. But yeah, why don't we carry things along then to the Prospect League, where we have Warhawks taking on Banshees. This one is definitely a spicy one. A lot of storylines in this one, Gallium. What can you tell us about the Warhawks?
Man, Warhawks have been my favorite team to watch all season. Prospect has been the craziest league all season in the regular season. So many switch ups with Sage and I becoming GM at the trade deadline. That kind of swapped our teams around. He went from being on the Banshees with Strato and Rogue to taking that roster and putting them on to his Warhawks roster. So they completely flipped rosters. And Allen and Creed were on the Warhawks at one point. But now the Warhawks with Rogue, Strato, Slays, and Sage only dropped one game, and that was to me. You're welcome, guys. And they snagged the 3rd seed.
There we go. And yeah, I guess Gallium again. What can you tell us? You talk about the Banshees a little bit. I guess you kind of talked about the swap ups there, but I guess what can you tell us about the Banshees that do?
Man, they've had actually the same amount of swap ups. I believe they've had 3 starting rosters this entire season, so a lot of swap ups. And it wasn't even that they were like losing games; they just had swap ups because that's how Prospect is. So Allen and Creed and Psycho, they were traded to the 2nd seeded team. However, they kept losing series late in the season. I believe it was because they were load managing Creed. I don't think Creed played a whole lot. I kind of heard some stuff went on there, but they snuck in, not really snuck in with the 4th seed. And they are not the underdogs. Despite what Allen will tell you, they are not underdogs. This is going to be a great matchup.
Yeah, definitely should be a great matchup. Flip, what can you tell us about these two teams and how they got to this point?
Man, these two teams kind of had opposite of like opposing stories almost. Warhawks have looked completely dominant. They have dropped for one game all postseason. So they beat Velocity 4-1 and then they swept the Wyverns 4-0. So they have looked really good. But the Banshees, they had an absolute crazy game 7 comeback against the Melons. They were down 3-1 in that series and they were able to come back and beat the Melons, and then they had to go face the number 1 seed in Origin, and they absolutely took them out in a 4-1 fashion. It wasn't close. And Banshees, they're looking really good. And so are the Warhawks. So this is probably my favorite matchup of the night.
Yeah, it definitely has the potential for a lot of content, especially with the rivalry that's swapping of teams. Definitely some well-known players. Dan, what can you tell us about the match as a whole?
This is a little preview here. I think it's truly gonna be the battle of the 1st and 2nd man. Not to say the 3rd man's gonna be, left out, but it's. I think personally, I think it's gonna be Alpha and Rogue or Strato or whatever he wants to go by nowadays. I think it's gonna be Allen and Creed. I think those like combination of people, it's gonna be very close. And honestly, I think it's gonna go the distance.
All right, it very well may. Let's get some predictions around the horn here. Let's start it off with a Flip.
I have faith in the Banshees. I actually scrimmed the Warhawks. And yes, I'm a rival player, but I kind of suck. So and, the Warhawks did not take a game though, and Rogue rage quit. So honestly, after that, I have to take the Banshees.
All right, Flip is go with the Banshees here. Gallium, who do you got in this one?
I'm sick of all this Rogue slander. He is the most clutch player in Nemesis history. And Prospect League came in with the Minotaurs after barely playing that season and won a grand finals. I'm going Warhawks in 7.
Warhawks in 7. Dan, you on the same board here with Gallium?
I am. I did say. I'm sorry that it would go the distance, and I do think the Warhawks are going to edge it out in 7. Not to say that Banshees won't put up a good fight.
Yeah, I do also think the Banshees are going to put up a good fight here. And I think they're going to take it, actually. I'm going with the Banshees in 6. I think that Allen Creed duo, along with Psycho in that third man, I think they're going to be too strong rotation wise. I think they're going to have too much offensive pressure. I think, honestly, I think it might even be less than 6. But I'm going with 6 because we love some good old Forbidden Temple content. But it should be a good one. I'd love to see Rogue and company prove me wrong. But I got the Banshees in this one in 6. So we'll have to see if they're able to pull it off. But yeah, let's keep things rolling along. That one again at 8 p.m. Eastern for the Prospect League Grand Finals. Now let's kick it to the Novice League where we have Frost taking on Diffusion 1 versus 7 on the board here. Flip. Let's start with you to tell us about Dan, Mr. Dan and Frost. Tell about their season thus far.
They he was saying it earlier in the season. This man said that his team was the best, and you know what? They proved it. They started a little shaky. I think they went like 2-3 in the beginning. Not great. However, they went on a 6-game win streak and then a 5-game win streak. So they got really streaky at the end. They looked really good. So 11-1 to end the season. Absolutely insane. They took the 1 seed, and you know what? They continued their dominance.
They definitely did, taking out 1 seed, 15-3 regular season record coming in this one. Going to be looking very, very strong. And they've got, this other team, Gallium Diffusion. They have got a tough task for them. But how do they fare in the regular season?
So watching them in season 8, they went into the play-ins and they didn't do that well. And this season, I saw them in that same spot. I'm like, there's no way they do anything here. And actually, to get to that spot, they were pretty much in the same exact position they were in season 8. They went 10-9. Or sorry, yeah, and then they took the 7th seed, which is honestly a little surprising, especially with Kyle. So we'll see how they do.
Yeah, definitely gonna have to see how they are gonna do. And speaking of how they do, how about how they did here, Gallium? How did these guys get here to the grand finals, Frost and Diffusion?
Frost, it's pretty much a simple story. They just crushed everybody in their playoff run. They only lost one game this entire playoffs, and it was to the Wisps, who, in my opinion, probably shouldn't have won a game. So it was an amazing revenge tour. They beat Speed and Aurora, and then went on to smoke the Wisps. So, but Diffusion, they had a crazy road, kind of similar to my team in season 7. So they had to go through the play-ins, and they beat my Pawns in a sweep, and they faced Kiwis in the quarterfinals, and I had Kiwis winning that very handedly. But Diffusion, they swept them. They played much better, and then they made it to the semis where they faced an acceleration team that I thought was going to beat them as well. And then Diffusion in one of my favorite game in this entire postseason, Game 7 in a 5-minute overtime. Halo Boys, he found the back of the net, and now they're in the grand finals. That is such a crazy storyline.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, man, it's gonna be lined up to be a good one here. 7 p.m. Eastern. Will we see Frost, who's been the dominant team all season long? Will they take it all the way here? Will Dan and company bring home another chip, or will it be Diffusion bringing home the upset in the first ever championship for the Deviation Org? That is to be determined. 7 p.m. Eastern. Let's go around the horn yet again here. Let's start it off. Let's start off with Flip here. Flip, who do you got in this one, Novice League Grand Finals?
I have faith in the Kyle. He is the guy. He is that dude, and he is going to be taking down Dan in Game 7. It's going to be a
Hmm.
Game 7 thriller. I don't know. Diffusion just finds a way to win, and that's what they're going to do here.
Oh, all right. Game 7 thriller. Kyle and company taking it. The first ever championship. Gallium, what are your thoughts here on this one?
I mean, it's all coming down to if Diffusion can handle this Frost offense. And my short and sweet answer is no. I have Frost in a sweep. Diffusion's defense is just not at Frost's level.
Hmm. Fair enough. Fair enough. Dan, I hate to ask, but I know where your heart lies.
Uh,
Are you guys taking it, Dan?
Unfortunately, Rockerman, for your sake, yes. With a totally unbiased opinion. I'm gonna be a little bit more modest though. I do think we can win, 4-5, but I'm gonna give, us the 4-2 scoreline.
All right, fair enough. And I originally had leaned hard one way. I had a 4-1 in favor of
Uh,
Frost, but I have changed my mind here. I'm going with Diffusion. I'm with Flip on
yeah.
this train. We're on the Kyle train here. I think the script is too strong for these fellas here. They will, they have just, done what they had to do in the play-in tournament, won that insane game 7. I think the momentum is on their side. I think they got the ice in their veins. And I think they're going to take him down. I think Frost is going down in 7. Diffusion, first ever championship for the Deviation org. I've got him in this one. 7 p.m. Eastern, but we will have to see. We will have to see how it shakes out. But yeah, last but not least, let's hit it to the Provisional League, fellas, which is our next matchup coming up here. Let's start it off with you, Gallium. Tell us about a little bit about the Gambit's regular season in review.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the Rockerman and Gallium matchup in Provisional League. I wasn't expecting that. So Gambits, they started off with a very bad draft. Probably one of the worst drafts based on picks and how we were projected to do. But somehow we pulled 3 great players out of it. We lost three players, and we kept Modeller, who's our sub. Shout out Modeller. And after starting 1 and 2, we didn't lose a single game after that. Beating an undefeated Dissonance on stream, and then defeating the Sirens in a reverse sweep twice, once on stream and then once off stream. So we've had a pretty good season.
Yeah, definitely. Flip, what can you tell us about Uprising here?
Uprising is a very interesting team because they went 7-7, and so in Provisional League, like every single team makes the playoffs, and 7-7 is literally middle of the pack. Obviously, they went dead even 500, but the games that they lost were kind of some of the games that they lost they should not have lost, in my opinion. A couple of games to like Wolfpack and some of the bad teams, but against some of the good teams, they had really good showings. They just could not pull it out. They lost like 2-3 against Dissonance. However, they're here now, and that's what matters. Their regular season definitely could have gone better, but that they're here, and that's what matters to them.
That's true. They are here. And speaking of being here, Flip, what can you tell us about how these teams did get to this point?
Well, see the Gambits, in Provisional, you get the 2 seed, you're already in the semis, and they took full advantage of that, and I wouldn't say smoked the Sirens, but it was pretty convincing. The games, it was 4-2, the series score. The games that the Gambits won, though, they felt like they were in control, and they looked really good while doing it. But Uprising, they, they beat the Mangoes in 6 games. A lot of people, thought that was going to happen. However, then they played the Dissonance Boys, who are the number 1 seed, and they took it to them and swept them. And so Uprising had a lot of momentum going into this grand final, and they're looking to upset once again this really good Gambit roster.
Yeah, definitely. So, Dan, what can you tell us about a final preview before this matchup coming up in just a couple minutes?
Kind of seems like a David versus Goliath in a sense. Yes, both teams skipped the plans completely. But Uprising, they struggled a little bit this season. They went 7-7. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they, match up with Crotera and company. And hot take, Crotera, pretty good for provisional. Probably not the carry though.
Well, we're gonna have to see who is the carry tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern for this matchup, just coming up in a few minutes here. Other things to note here: Sleeping Bean not available tonight, so BMAT will be playing in Sleeping Bean's spot here. So, could be a tough road for Uprising, a road that was already tough, but could be even tougher. But we are gonna have to see here as Flip. Let's go around the horn here, starting with you for the first prediction for this matchup.
Rockerman, as much as it must pain you, your teams aren't getting a chick, as they're gonna get swept. They're gonna get swept
Whoa.
once again. I have both your teams getting swept, and
Oh my
Uprising, they're
gosh.
gonna get swept again. I'm sorry, but Gambits are those dudes.
Well, fair enough. They may be those dudes over there on the Gambit side. They do looking scary just a little bit. But Gallium, unbiased of course. Where are your where are your hopes riding here?
I'm kind of like Dan. I'm a little more modest towards my teams. It's going to be 4-1. Although I wanted to put a sweep, got to give Uprising 1 game. Really like those guys over there, but Gambits, they're just so much better.
Fair enough. Dan, what are you thinking in this one?
Gotta hop on the Gambit train. I think Shadow's gonna pop off this series and show Uprising right out the door here in the grand finals. 4-2.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, guys, I gotta do it. I gotta go with Uprising. They have been the underdog all season long. I love the underdog stories. Underdog stories are always so exciting, especially when it's in my org. They are definitely the underdog without Sleeping Bean. But We saw what happened when they're underdogs before. Took down the 1 seed, swept them right out of here. Goodbye. They're gone. And, I think they're going to surprise some people again, take it to the Gambits. They honestly didn't look that good in that Siren series. They were definitely beatable. And I think they go down tonight, Uprising. I think they take them down in 7. But I think it will be definitely a tough uphill battle, but I think they got it here. I'm going with Uprising. But yeah, that is gonna do it here for our pre-show, folks. It is about that time. Everyone, get ready for the Provisional League Grand Finals, the second ever Provisional League Grand Finals here. Last time we saw a reverse sweep in this one, where the Wolfpack won, taking down technically the same team in the Gambits. They got reverse swept, formerly known as the Jesters, but moved over now to the Gambits. So technically a reverse sweep last time. Will we see the same type of content? That is to be determined, as we are going to be going to the Provisional League Grand Finals. It's going to be a good one. We got Flip and Sageburner coming in on this one. In a second here, I think we're missing Sageburner, but Flip and company will be taking care of this one in just a moment. So make sure you guys get locked in, get ready to go, and get excited, because this is going to be an exciting night. Any final thoughts here, guys, before we send it that way?
Don't be surprised with some upsets tonight. We've seen it
No.
all postseason.
No.
No, you don't think so,
okay.
Gallium?
Well, okay. I think honestly, I have all the higher seeds actually winning. I mean, I love upsets personally, but I just don't think there's gonna be that many tonight.
Just one, at least one.
I think I haven't gotten a single prediction right so far in the playoffs, and I don't think I'm going to start now. So maybe I feel like I'm going to be completely wrong, and Rockman, you'll be pretty happy about that. But
Hey, if Flip is wrong, multiple times, I will be, I will definitely be very happy about that. But we'll have to wait and see here, as we're gonna be getting things going in just a moment here. I'm trying to make sure we get everyone set up in here. Looks like there we go. There we have Sageburner now. We're going to the booth. So I am gonna throw it over to these two fellas, Flip and Sageburner, to take it on for the Provisional League Grand Finals. Let you guys take it away, Flip.